Each apparent distinct individual expresses their known reality, their experience, their existence through a complex set of references to personal opinion, belief systems, and direct experience. And all of these merge, coalesce to make up a view of the world which informs our experience of the moment and whether we prefer this moment or whether we do not prefer this moment, based on everything prior that we have been conditioned with, we have learned, we have adapted to behaviorally, we are neurologically or physiologically influenced by, and the whole gamut of the psychological, neurological, biological spectrum of influence. If we look more carefully at the nature of opinions, beliefs, and experiences, we soon see that we will soon encounter the idea that experience is the best teacher. So we can have an opinion about a thing, we can have a set of beliefs about a thing, or we can share our experience of a thing. In trying to understand what this meant for this apparent person, the first thing I do is turn to the dictionary, always with the dictionary. That's where I get this apparent verbosity and propensity for elongated words that are exponentially arising out of the furor, the oeuvre of all that is, and such masturbatory articulating as that. There's no value in it, of course, but it's nice to have access to and be able to use words creatively. So here we go. So I looked up the word opinion, and the primary definition that jumped out was, and this is common, I used the Longman's English Larousse, a book given to me by my mother in around 1972, 73, in fact given to my sister, but that I still have. And the definition for opinion that jumped off the page was a belief not based entirely on actual fact. I checked today on dictionary.com, there's still a definition very akin to this. So, we will hear the trope, I have a right to my opinion. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in there about this demand that there is a right to an opinion, often shrouded in the idea that there is a moral right to free speech, and there is, but shrouded in the espousing of all kinds of arrant nonsense, because we've had a thought and we've articulated it, and now we're not able to access the humility to retract and think, actually, that's a stupid idea. We defend this opinion that we've expressed with the egoic motion of, well, that's my opinion and I'm sticking to it. Feel free to have as many opinions as you wish. Feel free to have numerous demands for rights to those opinions. Those opinions and the rights to it say everything about the person expressing the opinion and nothing about that which the opinion speaks to. So, remember, any criticism from other people says everything about where they're at and how they experience the thing they're critiquing, and very little about the thing they're critiquing. Maybe there'll be some truth in that, but an opinion cannot carry absolute or total truth. So opinions, whilst we have them and whilst they're useful and whilst many constantly express them, they have little empirical, practical, useful application. One might have an opinion about consuming a particular food or substance, or someone else's relationship or our own relationship. One might have an opinion about Santa Claus, Father Christmas, without ever having directly experienced Santa Claus. And so, you can see the lack of long-standing validity to having an opinion about things. And here, I'm not disparaging opinions, I'm just trying to evidence that there is a limit to framing our reality and our life in a way which is a bunch of opinions. I have an opinion about everything. every single thing I can give you an opinion on, which is why rarely will I offer any opinion whatsoever, because I've seen through the veil of inaccuracy and the harm caused at times by expressing an opinion about something which I have no prior thought of and no direct experience of. So, opinion, a belief not based entirely on actual facts. So I looked up the word belief because belief is included in the definition of the word opinion. Interesting. Now, of course, we have entire belief systems. We each have beliefs. I can give you beliefs about things I've got no experience of. And we will take our beliefs to the grave. We will take our beliefs about trauma we've been through. We will take beliefs about our abusers. And as abusers, we might take beliefs about the events in which we were the perpetrator, that frame that perpetration in a way which sees us rationalise, justify and minimise our perpetrating behaviour, causing harm to another. We can believe what we want to believe about that so that we can live with ourselves and live with what's done. Just using perpetration as one example. So to illustrate the idea that we can have as many beliefs as we want, I don't mind what you believe. Believe what you will. It's fine. I don't have to believe the same thing. Maybe I do believe the same thing. But again, I've been able to find through this very articulation the limits of insisting on my beliefs. In fact, coming out of complex situations, moving into therapeutic processes or counselling processes, we must and will need to challenge our own beliefs. We'll need to confront our beliefs. We'll need to express our beliefs and hear ourselves express these beliefs, so that we can see that and hear that by the expression of our own voice and narrative, the limits of our very own beliefs or the ways in which we have become enslaved, unable to imagine an alternative to a present belief about a set of circumstances, about people, about places we've been to, and about events and about things. When I looked belief up in the dictionary, having seen previously the definition of opinion, it stated this: belief, an idea in which some amount of confidence is placed. Confidence, the Latin for confidence, is with faith. So with faith, without any direct experience necessarily, or sometimes with, but without direct experience of a phenomena or a thing, we have an idea about it in which we place some amount, though not total, confidence, faith. An idea in which some amount of confidence is placed. Now, we all believed, did we not, again, that Father Christmas was a thing, that Santa Claus was a thing, that our gifts weren't bought by our parents, and that a jolly large gentleman with a beard and reindeer broke into our properties when we were minors and left us gifts based on the morality we'd been able to express during the previous year, based on that very morality being given to us by the teachers, parents, and caregivers around us that have reinforced and enabled the idea that once a year a burglar breaks into our house who's a happy burglar and leaves us gifts at the end of the bed. So we are taught a morality and offered gifts as a result of compliance to that morality based on a lie told to us by the most important people around us that this character exists. So they're the ones who are reviewing whether we've been consistent in colluding with them around this lie. Of course, that's a really severe way of looking at what's happening, but isn't there some truth in that? But the purpose of the Father Christmas trope here is, the Santa Claus trope here is the idea that we all believed in that. Look how much we may have believed in it when we were children. We believed in it so vehemently that when we went to bed, we couldn't sleep because that belief was paramount. It was figural to our direct experience as uninformed minors. It was the raison d'etre, the primary purpose to going to bed that night was to wake up to find that this gentleman with the beard had broken into our house, left us gifts because we've been good. And we couldn't sleep. That's how much we stick to our beliefs. And of course, as we know, there's the line about, I'll take this belief to my grave. And that's fine if you choose to do that, that's fine. I've had beliefs, and maybe I still have beliefs. Maybe I believe in what I'm saying here, but I think I can offer more than mere belief in what I'm saying. As much as I'm using words to articulate a notion and a thread, I've experienced for myself movements out of my opinions as a younger person, my beliefs as a previously spiritual, religious, or a spiritual seeking person, into a reliance on my direct experience. So we have opinion, a belief not based entirely on actual fact, and then belief comes out of that, an idea in which some amount of confidence is placed, until we come finally to experience in the third of the three ways in which we frame our reality, on our opinions, on our beliefs, and the ways in which these are culturally, socially, familiarly reinforced, and the time frame in history that we live in. This all shapes our existence, our existential reality, and the anxiety that can come with that when we feel we're not living up to it as a personality construct in the mind space, and the mind schema, and the impulse of the mind as an energetic movement of direct experience. So we come to experience. When I looked up experience, it said, having heard the phrase, experience is the best teacher. And I knew this because I'd been through cycles of wonderful transformation, descents into difficulty, trauma, addiction, and being enslaved, periods of elongated periods over years, months of depression, a decade of joy in the 90s, having fun, as I embodied in my 30s the opinions and experiences of my 20s. And then coming to spiritual life and hearing this beautiful phrase, experience is the best teacher. I knew that to be true the first time I heard it, because I was then, at the point of hearing it, an amalgamation, the fruition, the coalition of all previous experiences prior to hearing that. Experience is the best teacher. The experience of myself, and even the shared experience of others, in which I can measure and modulate my own experience to see whether it is true for me or not before I express anything. When I looked up experience, it said direct participation or observation of an event. So it either happened to me or it happened while I was there or here at the time. I was involved, directly involved. So I can say, well, I experienced drug addiction. I experienced being hit by a car on the pavement. I experienced deep joy and ecstatic sensations and feelings on psychedelics in the 90s. I experienced the spiritual notion of the universe opening up, the veil parting for a moment. I experienced the evaporation of the personality program I'd been seeking to improve over 47, 48 years as a seeking mental construct called Billy, as an ego self. I experienced the evaporation of that ego in hearing a simple phrase about that I was not my thoughts and I was not the doer of my thoughts, as I was separated finally in the way in which psychedelics and other substances and people, places and things pointed to, by putting me in a present tense experience, the experience of food, the experience of psychedelics, the experience of intimacy, the experience of my very being as I became body conscious and moved out of the mental plane into the presence of drug rituals and preparing substances and foods and making love and all these beautiful things that was so elusive and so alluring that I tried to stay in those places, and there is addiction right there. Because there was an absolute truth pointed to in temporary states brought about by the application of a substance, food or thing. So I had experienced all of these things. I was directly involved in the participation of these events between myself and the object. There was a duality going on between me and the application of food, drugs, lovemaking, shopping, pornography, control, mental mechanisms that brought me out of the mental plane to a place of understanding with a capital U. All of those things brought me to a state of being, which is a state of understanding where the mental plane evaporates enough to be in an experience of not being the thoughts and not being the thinker. Direct participation in an event, in the event of the absence of thought. And think about this, grief, shock will do that to you. When we have said, have we not all said, I don't know what to say? Ask yourself, have you said that? That's when you're having an experience, possibly and probably directly in the body, that in which the mental construct and all schema and all conditioning and all prior experience cannot, will not be able to control, or won't be able to immediately on hearing or experiencing the shock or the presence to that realization and recognition and understanding. That thought can't control, the mind can't control it. So we move into the body, we move into the heart space, or we are out of our mind, as we say, don't we? We're not. It's not like we're literally out of the mind. We might be in the body, we're out of the mind in that way, certainly. But all of those, we will know, you will know, I know, everybody knows, as an experience that's happening to us. And then we later claim it as our own experience. We say, my experience was that I recovered from drug addiction by doing some work on my inner world, because drugs pointed to that. My experience is that through that work that was done and through the seeking that was done, I came to the realization that I'm not my thoughts and I'm not the owner of my thoughts, and the dependence on the thought structures and the emotional responses as a result were no longer who I am. I am that I am. I am this apparent body, my located experiences of this apparent body, but there is, prior to all thought, prior to all feeling, prior to all the body, there is the space in which the first point of the day, the I thought arises, and I turn up and move out into a world of sensory experience, of body experience. So, these are tangents that I've gone off into that are articulating how I experience these things, but in a realized or recognized way. I am not the experience of things. I am not finally the collected experience of all of the things over a period of time. I am not time. I am that which has observed and knows time and all experiences. And what I would articulate here using language as linearity between absolute misery and depression and absolute ecstasy and peak experiences and unitive consciousness. But I am none of those things. I am that which knows those things before thought, much akin to the experience of being asleep, when there appears to be no experience, but there is just consciousness in its pure state. Not that there is a pure consciousness, but just consciousness without objective experience. There are no objects in the deep sleep state. And that deep sleep state is used in the waking state and in the dream state to point to consciousness itself, an objective, formless being. Those are experiences. That is experience. Direct experience, when everything else is reduced away, everything else is inquired into to find that it's an object, because I can describe it and use words. I can describe to you looking into a camera. So I'm not the looking, I'm that which knows the looking. I am not the experience of a camera or the pointing, talking fingers that help me so much. But I am that which knows all of these things, but is unchanged by the things that change. And you've only got to look at your experience and your experiences of life to see that things are constantly changing. Even the people in our lives change. And in the end, as the body and the mind evaporates, even the body is then changed. And what remains, at a best guess, what remains is the consciousness that we are in the here and now, the heaven up here, right now, that we already are if we inquire back through our experience and come to the unending and indivisible experience of our very being. How beautiful. And then we end up not with an opinion about all the stuff out there. Who cares? Who really cares? I don't care. I don't care about my own opinion, so no offense. But, feel free to have an opinion. But I don't mind what the opinion is. I don't have any beliefs, and I certainly, if I do or if I appear to have expressed a belief, I don't mind having it challenged, and I don't mind undertaking looking at it, to use a Quaker aphorism. Always consider the idea that I might be wrong. Spend time in consideration that I may be wrong. But experience, and my experience says, when I collect them together as a thought that rises to presence, have been colourful, from the misery to the ecstasy. Just all the spans of the rainbow, including the blacks and the greys and the whites and the pure and the dark and the shadowy and the damp, to the yellow and the pure and the whiteness and the purples and the oranges, and just the wonder of it all of that, how rich I am in experience. But ultimately, absolutely, I'm not those experiences. I am that which knows them and has remained unchanged by them. And for all the riches that they are, then am I most blessed, absolutely, to have known such experience on this material plane. My God, it's full of stars.